So with that being said, if you are brand new to WISE Data, this is our flyer we actually have. Giving you an idea of what the application does. It's an automated data collection system, and we collect your data automatically coming from your SIS. We used to do it in a less timely way, so we think that we're streamlining things and saving time and money. We use an API technology and system integration. I don't know if anyone's getting excited about these technological keywords, but that's what we do. Near real time, not real time, but we're close. And we have dashboards, exports, validation rules, and it syncs nightly to WISE Dash with an, that's not all that helpful to you, but it is for your exports. You have WISE or extracts, I should say. You have WISE Dash extracts. So we work with multiple vendors. We as a state give you the option to choose your own SIS vendor. Other states in our country actually require schools to work with a specific vendor. So you have that freedom. And it links to WISE ID. WISE Data and WISE ID are married together, and they work together to track your student information system. So you are not only working in WISE Data exclusively. You also spend time with WISE ID to make sure the student demographic information is up to date and accurate in there as well. And in the WISE Data system, we house graduate dropout data, completion and exit. So that would be the end of the school year. WISE Data is an annual reporting process. Don't get anxious when you hear exit. That is the end of the school year. We have a beginning and end to every WISE Data school year. As you do, right? Third party is September counts and attendance data. And I apologize, folks. I began without introducing the folks in the front of the room. We have Ryan Franz from the Parental Education Options team here to answer all your choice questions. All those choice questions he wants, and he's ready for it. Emily Colo is here to talk about our student data, accountability reporting. If you have questions about the report card, Emily is the person for the job. And I don't know if I introduced myself, but my name is Carrie Bowe, and I am the WISE Improvement Manager, and I am happy that you came to hear me speak for 90 minutes. So why do we do this? Because of the reporting requirements by state that the choice schools follow. Ideally, we would like to make data-driven decisions, right? We don't want this just to be a hoop that we jump through. We want to use the data to make it actionable to better our learning environments and our student learning outcomes. And then the data that you are reporting is generated to create the accountability report card. So we're going to talk about the submission setup. There's some work that we have to do on the back end to get things going. First, you select your SIS. Notice that I have a lot of hyperlinks here. Okay. I know it's early in the morning. I clicked on the hyperlink and it didn't take you. Okay, that's fine. So I'm moving this, Okay, here we go. The hyperlinks are here to help you. I don't know if you were able to retrieve the slide decks from the WISE Data conference page. Please do so if you have not. You can follow along if you'd like. But we have really in-depth web pages for your support. So if you're shopping around for a SIS or you want to know more, if you're thinking about shopping around for a SIS, go onto our websites and use the resources. We have a list of certified SIS vendors that DPI works with. If you want a vendor that's not on that list, you need to have them commit to working with us and completing vendor certification. And it has to be prior to the beginning of the school year, quite a bit longer, because there's a lot of work that goes into the programming and building those platforms for student reporting in the SIS. And then after we get the SIS set up, we have your security set up. So the SIS takes care of things, and then we have to get you a WANS ID, so that you can be assigned access to these secure reporting applications. Folks, I've worked with schools. I'm not saying anyone in the room did this, okay? I'm not asking for hands. But some schools share usernames and logins. Some schools share email addresses. I know that it's easier. I hear that, okay? My mom and dad do it, okay? I hear it. But it is not safe. Unfortunately, a lot of these smaller schools are under cyber attack. And I know that sounds really far-fetched. Like, why? But it is the PII, that personal identifiable information that lives in your SIS, that student information. That is a hot commodity. People would like to have student demographic information to use for whatever purposes hackers use that for. So the security setup, it's a big deal to us, and we want it to be a big deal to you, and we want it to be a streamlined, simple process. So we are here to support you through that. Don't take the easy way out. No sharing usernames or email addresses. Please do not use generic emails like secretary@blah-blah-school.com. We want a unique email assigned to that staff member, because when staff leave, that also creates a nightmare for you, because that generic email is assigned to that staff member that's not here anymore. And now you can't get them to be gone from the security systems, and you have to work with DPI one-on-one so that we can offboard that. And then trying to get a new staff member, you can't use that email address anymore, and it just becomes a kind of a hot mess. So foresight, I have the foresight. I've spent a lot of time doing this. I'm not just saying things to say it, okay? This is best practice and it's best for you. Once we get you set up with a WAMS ID and you can access the application, if you're a choice administrator, you would be assigning access to the applications to your staff. You're going to begin the WISE ID setup, attaining WISE IDs for your students. For your students to have WISE IDs, we have some basic demographic information required. Again, all the hyperlinks are living in my slide deck about all of these different pieces. So if you're new, click around, have fun with it. But for your students to have WISE ID, they need the name, birth date, race, ethnicity, and parent information. Usually it's the mother record at a minimum to attain that WISE ID in the system. A lot of your SIS vendors have built into their SIS an identity integration. So the WISE ID system speaks to your SIS directly to help you attain WISE IDs and maintain the WISE IDs. It can be a really slick process. In the beginning of the school year, you may want to consider, though, the bulk upload of using a download to your spreadsheet. All the students on the spreadsheet going into the WISE ID system and getting all your WISE IDs at once, because this is vendors that have built in the identity integration tool. A lot of times you have to go through one by one to attain that WISE ID. And I want to honor your time and energy, especially in the beginning of the school year, right? It's chaos and you have so much other things to focus on. So the spreadsheet process may be more efficient for you in the beginning of the school year. You've got your WISE IDs. We're moving on to number 2 with the data submission process. You're going to begin entering your data into the student information system. This is where human error happens, right? So you're going to get validation messages at the beginning of the school year. Don't feel bad about it. That's what our validation rules are there for, is to check your data, check the accuracy, but take your time, because we don't know your data. If you were in my session yesterday, we talked about this is your data. We try our best to help you verify the accuracy, but we don't know your data. It's yours. So you're submitting your data into the SIS, and then you're going to get your Ed5 credential key and secret set up and begin that WISE data portal submission. Your SIS may or may not submit data automatically to our WISE data portal. Please please, in the beginning of the school year, schedule data submissions. Talk to your SIS vendor if the data submissions can be scheduled and it is automatic. If not, verify with your SIS how to push that data over manually. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about how in our My Data system, we can verify that the data came over. But you need to know in your SIS how to verify that the data is being sent. Sometimes the SIS will give you a green check mark to indicate that the WISE data has been synced. Sometimes there's a report that's run that gives you some feedback on if the data is coming over in your SIS. Get to know your SIS choice reporting windows. Get training at the beginning of the year. After you send your data over, that's when you get all that good news. You get to validate and review your data, and then it's a continuous collection. We just have the whole school year of that data review. And that's where all of you are like, can't wait. Oh, yes. So our data snapshots we covered pretty in depth yesterday. We will talk a little bit about that today. We capture the data snapshots, specifically third Friday, September, and student demographic information will be coming up this May. And we're going to be tying that demographic data to your assessment data. And then we take, for the school report card data, year-end attendance, exit status, and high school completion status. When I'm going to speak about high school completion status a bit, and we're going to get into it more in depth when we talk about exit types. This is another window that is really confusing for our schools. There are a few clicks that you need to complete, making sure that when your students are leaving you, you're entering the correct high school completion exit type, that you're also completing that the graduation certificate that they're receiving. Data snapshot time is a busy time for everyone, right? So my slide deck says it's best practice to maintain data quality throughout the year. It's a good habit to be logging into WISE Data Portal frequently. And you know what? We know when you log in, okay? So if it's very transparent, and if you need support logging in, ask us, reach out. I know that sometimes if you don't have that login information initially and you can't get in, you got other things to do, you get overwhelmed and it gets put aside, right? So just begin the year with best practice logging in, see what kind of validation messages are in there, and also if your enrollment data is coming through. But be sure that you're logging in more frequently prior to those snapshots. I do have a video we're not going to watch today about student data privacy, but you can share that. I really encourage you at the beginning of the school year, if you want to get your staff fired up about data privacy, this is the video for you, okay? I'll let you borrow that one. All the administrators in the room are like, yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about enrollment and the required data elements for enrollment. A lot of the times you have the parent portal set up and your parents are entering in your student information. Please ask your parents to use full names when they are beginning the school year and entering that student information. We want William, not Billy, okay? If he goes by Junior, we need the, what is his name? Not just Junior, right? This is a problem that happens very frequently, easy to do. Having a short conversation with parents or even some verbiage on that parent portal can save you time. So these are things that I want you to think about. Another thing that I want you to be aware of, and now's the time to be thinking about this. Already this spring, we're thinking about 24-25, your opt-in, opt-out status for the all student report card. Who knows what status they're in right now? Raise your hand. Okay, all right, good. We're going to talk about what the opt-in, opt-out status means, and we're going to talk about your options, because at this time of the school year, you can submit paperwork to change your status if you would like to So the all student report card, if your school opted in, that means you're getting a holistic view of all the students in enrollment. You're going to be reporting all of your students, both choice and non-choice participants, for WISE data, and they will be reflected on the accountability report card. If your school opted out, that means you will only be reporting your choice participants. Now, if your school opted out, please be discreet and private with your student reporting practices. Your students' participation in the choice program is confidential. That is not something that we need to be sharing with other families or educators. So if you do choose to opt out, think about best practice. Think about how that data collection can be done in a respectful way so that we're not sharing the students' choice participant status. If you choose to opt in to the all student report card, there is kind of an incentive with using an application or I should say a data collection. The Wisconsin Immunization Registry, as you know, you submit an annual report, and it was very tedious for schools to enter all the immunization data for all of the students in enrollment. And we received a lot of feedback on that, and we collaborated with DHS, the Department of Health Services, to ease that burden for our schools. And so we now have an integration where the immunization data can pull from the cloud and populate in your SIS, saving you time. So with that, if you choose to opt in to the all student report card, you can use that Wisconsin Immunization Registry tool. Something to think about. If you want to change your status, you know you're opt in and you want to opt out or vice versa, we do have a form on the PEO website that you can go to now. Ryan Franz was amazing and made it available for the conference so that you can go in, print that off and submit it. It's due August 1st per state statute. So if you want to make the change, you can do so now prior to August 1st. And this is there's turnover in the schools often, as we know. And this is just one of the many nuances of choice student reporting. When folks come in and they're new to student reporting, this opt-in, opt-out status, we don't know what we don't know. It causes a lot of issues for your reporting if you're not reporting everyone, and you should be. Okay, right? We can't generate enrollments that you don't send us. So please have conversations with your staff. Yes.
No question is no question.
What is the benefit of opting in and opting out was the question. Well, when I worked with School Choice Wisconsin, one of the things that they shared is that they strive to create as much consistency in what private schools can offer. And so because public schools report the entire student body, you have the option to do the same. You can report the entire student body, giving a holistic picture of what's happening at your school so that you can really show everyone the successes that are in place. You also can use the Wisconsin Immunization Registry tool. If you're opting out, your school report card is only showing what's happening, the student successes with that choice population. Good question. We welcome questions. Yes. Ooh, another good question. Okay. So the question is, does every SIS have the Wisconsin Immunization Registry integration built in? No. Good question. And so you can see that on our site. We have a SIS vendor. Okay, I got it up. Here we go. Here we go. We are going to find our SIS vendors that are certified. So I'm typing in SIS
on our DPI help search tool. Thinking about switching your SIS? And then I'm going to find the list of certified vendors. I have to say, this is hard. It's on this page somewhere. I can help you pull it up. Do you see it? Yeah, the vendor list. You see it? No. Okay, here it is. Yeah, team effort. I appreciate you. So this is the list where you would see on the right-hand side, it would say the Wisconsin Immunization Registry to indicate if your SIS is working with that. So that helps you kind of shop around. All right, good questions. Keep throwing them at me. All right, so here we do have, if you're preparing for the school year and you want, sometimes schools need an entire list of the data elements that are required for your student reporting. We do have a tool for that. So within the WISE data elements, we actually have a filter that you can use to designate under school type. We have choice schools. When you hit apply, this will allow you to generate a list of all of the data elements that your choice school is required to report. This is nice to have. If you are a new user or if you're just preparing for the school year, use this tool. Get everything in place that needs to be. Okay. Another big piece of setting up your SIS and getting all the data elements in is please be sure you indicate your choice participant status. Usually it's a toggle or a radio button to show that your student is participating in the choice program. The beginning of school year setup, it's robust, right? There's a lot to do. And this is the big one that's missed. So please be aware. As we said, we have a lot of staff turnover. If you have a new administrative assistant, this is a big one that you would want to cover with your new staff member. Student economic status. This is really important to report accurately for your accountability report card. Turn to your neighbor and say, this is important. This is important, okay? So your choice schools, you have, again, it's nuanced, folks. I know you're probably tired of hearing both saying nuanced, but for a student to come back to you and participate in the choice program, do they have to provide income paperwork to return and participate in the choice program?
Yes.
Oh, I love this response because it's confusing. No, they don't. They gave you their income paperwork to enroll in the choice program and to be eligible. When they come back to you in the fall, they're good to go. Is that correct, Ryan Franz?
Yeah, some parents don't even give paperwork, right? So if they're determined eligible in the application itself, you might not even have seen anything, right? So you as a school don't see paperwork sometimes from income at all.
Correct. You may not even see the income paperwork. You heard right. But for you to report student economic status, guess what you need? Some income. Okay, you have to have some kind of income reporting. So we have something called the alternate household income form that we generate annually. Don't use last year's, okay? Do not use last year's. It's new. The federal income guidelines are updated annually. You're gonna include this alternate household income form with your enrollment paperwork, or you could set it up on the parent portal and be techie, whatever's best for you. And you're going to use the income guidelines to determine if your student is economically disadvantaged or not. It's a true false. Okay, so
the parents are determining what income bracket they're falling within. And you are using that information to enter into your SIS if the student is considered economically disadvantaged or not. If you're a CEP school, do you need to do this? Yes. Use the alternate household income form to determine your student's economic status and report this in your SIS. We have dashboards that we're going to cover today for you to review the accuracy of your economic status data. Do you see all the exclamation points I put on here? Okay, I know it like stands out like crazy. It's important. Yes. Good. Okay, you're correct. So if the student is eligible for free or reduced price lunch, they are considered economically disadvantaged. Okay, I have another one. Are you ready? We're gonna wake up this morning with another fun question. If the student is eligible for the choice program, are they considered economically disadvantaged? I don't know. That's right, everyone. Ooh, yeah, they're not. The guidelines for the choice program, the income guidelines for the choice program to be eligible are different than our federal income guidelines to be considered economically disadvantaged. So use our alternate household income form. We're going to, I have it linked here. I know I told you I have some really good links. I wasn't lying. Here it is, the alternate household income form, but that is for this year. Can we use that form for next year? You were listening. That's correct. Another great question. I'm so glad you came. When does the new form come? Well, I set many timers and countdowns for the first week of July. Yep, first week of July, we'll have that posted typically. And we will make that available to you. We do it all, okay? We go above and beyond because the food nutrition services team, they collaborate with us because we spoke about, hey, our choice schools have verbiage on this form that say it's for CEP. Not everyone's in CEP. Can you make this a Word document so that you can create your own verbiage? Don't change the form itself, but you can say, because your student is participating in the program, please submit this form. Or whatever kind words you want to throw at your families so that they finish the form and return it to you. So we have a Word document, we have it translated, it's in PDF form for easy printing. English language proficiency is the next data element that we're going to discuss. I'm not discussing all of the data elements today, but I'm going to highlight some of the data elements that are confusing, that sometimes are misreported, or are new to some of you, because maybe you're new to the choice program, and if you are, we welcome you. The English language proficiency, is that required to report? Are you required to report English language proficiency as a choice school?
Yes.
No. I know this all breaks our heart. I wish it was, but it's not. We do not require you to follow federal reporting guidelines because choice schools do not receive federal money. But there's money there for you. You can receive federal money through Title III. So if you have students who are English learners, we want you to access that funding. We want you to receive the services and programming that's available to you because our teachers need the tools and resources to scaffold that instruction, right? And our students need to receive successful outcomes. So you can collaborate with your district, your local district, to who looks forward to the title consultation each year? Title consultation is coming up, right? Okay, if you have English learners in your student population, discuss English learner services. I repeat, this is underreported, this is underserved, and our staff are not given the resources to accommodate instruction for English learners. So we're going to talk about it. Discuss during your title consultation English learner services, because you don't have your new students yet, right? You can have a student come in the fall that's an English learner. You can talk about the potential, hey, we do have English learners coming to us. What's available? What can we do? And to be honest, when I work with choice schools in the public districts, they flat out state, we don't even discuss English learner services. We don't know what to do. Because it's intimidating and it's new and because of that, folks avoid, right? We avoid change or anything that's new. We're not gonna do that anymore. We're gonna talk about it, we're gonna embrace it, we're gonna be comfortable with it. So please, if you're struggling during your title consultation and not having a fruitful conversation, we have staff here who can help facilitate that. Yes.
So
Mhm.
I understand that we discussed, even with even the services, we do not have.
False. If you're receiving the services, if you're receiving services, you're getting title funding, you then would be required to report. Question.
Yes, first a question based on that question. Report for every single student in your school,
Report what?
the English test.
Okay, good question. Oh, I'm so glad you asked this. Oh, geez, this is great. Okay, so we want you to use best practice, right? Best practice would be to use something called the home language survey. This would be something that you would use in your enrollment paperwork or parent portal. We have it created for you already. The home language survey you would give to all of your students once as they enroll. And the parent responses would give you direction on whether the student is eligible for access testing. The access testing is the language placement assessment. Okay. If the student is eligible for the screener, you would move forward with working with your school district to determine your student's English language proficiency. If the student response is that they're a native English speaker, then you're going to report 7 native English speaker. And for those students that have the access testing, you would get a score from that. Question. If you just know that they're speaking English, it's okay to enter 7, right?
No.
No, again, this data is underreported, underserved, and extremely inaccurate. We have a lot of staff just guess. Okay, I repeat. Please, if you choose not to participate, if you say, no, this is not a good fit for us this year, please leave it blank. Don't touch it. We don't want inaccurate data that would skew the reports that we're receiving and the programming and the planning. We want to generate programming and funding for our students from accurate data to make right data-driven decisions. So choose not to report anything if you're not going to participate in this. If you do, then you're going to use the home language survey to begin that process. Yes. Are you going to get an error if it's blank? No, but you will get a warning. We'll throw a warning at you saying you didn't submit this data. Is that what you meant to do? And then if that's indeed you chose not to participate, you would acknowledge that. And if you did, then there's something going on with the data flow and the transactions with your SIS. Good questions today, folks. Yes. The question is, every student, even if their choice, does the home language survey? Well, if your school chooses to participate in access testing and Title III funding, receiving Title III funding, and the programming for English learners, then yes. Good question.
Which if you're opt out, you wouldn't report those students. So in your SIS, if you're, say you have a non-choice student, thanks. If you have a non-choice student that you decided to test and then give the access test to, you still wouldn't report them in your SIS as EL because that data doesn't get pushed to the department because you're opt out. So you could still do that. You could still do title funding through your district for students that aren't considered choices.
Good question. Disability status. Do we have to report that? Question.
Yes, okay, this is something that you need to report. If your student is working within an IEP, you need to indicate that in your SIS. And we have a data quality indicator in my data portal to help you review students working within a disability. So that you can be sure that data is pulling over. What about if they're just receiving title funding? Do we need to report that? It depends. Is the title funding, it really, you need to be aware of the IEP. And if the student is working within an IEP or just title services. Because sometimes it's a Venn diagram and it overlaps, right? Yes. The question is, the school doesn't offer IEPs, but we have services coming in to offer support. Are the students working within an ISP? Yeah. Okay, yes. So I'm glad that you asked that. I'm glad all the questions are being asked. The choice schools generate ISPs. Students would come in from the public with an IEP. But if they're in the choice school needing some accommodations and servicing, we would generate an IS. Do we report to WISE data? Ooh, this is a good one. Can't wait to see what you're gonna say. Do we report to WISE data SNSP students? Correct. You do not. You do not report your SNSP students unless you opted in. And then you report everyone.
Parentally placed private flag, PPP. What is that?
Does anyone know? When do we use PPP, parentally placed private flag? Really fun to say it. Yes,
When they're receiving services from this local school district,
correct.
but it's being
Correct. Is when a student is attending the private choice school, but receiving services from the public school. Don't get offended when you see in your WISE enrollments that your student is enrolled at your school and the public school. The public schools are federally required to report all the services that they're giving. They need to report that enrollment and the services that they're giving. And they would give something, they would indicate PPP, parentally placed private. Sometimes they forget and it creates an error, and then you would just send a friendly email. Say, hey, please place this private student as PPP, and then that error will be resolved.
It won't be an overlapping enrollment any longer. Ancestry, ethnic origin.
This is a newer data collection, it is not required, but it again is best practice. It was created because Wisconsin is a very segregated state. We have a lot of marginalized communities in our state, and we want to drive your decision making in many areas. This data collection would ideally help you with culturally responsive teaching, thinking about the curriculum that you're using in your school so that everyone's seen and heard, right? All communities. This data collection would help you see student success and outcomes. We have a very large Hmong population in Wisconsin. And according to our holistic data as a state, the Asian demographic is average or above in their academics. However, that federal reporting category, because it's so large, was masking our Pacific Islander and our Hmong students who were severely struggling in their academics. So where we would look at that large federal category and believe we're doing fine, right? We're not. When we need to look at the language needs of those students. The support that we can give our educators so that we can bring up our proficiency
and get those accommodations and that scaffolding happening. Tribal affiliation is another newer data collection. Our American Indian students in our state and nation and our American Indian communities are extremely underreported, okay, in many ways, not just within educational data, but within, when we think about, police reports, and because of the dynamics of, our reporting systems, they are an invisible community, okay? And so we're asking for you to use this data collection. Again, that will drive culturally responsive teaching and also give us insight on how our students are performing so that we can build programming and funding to drive student success. Digital equity, another optional reporting piece. This came out of our COVID pandemic, showing the digital divide for students that did not have devices or connectivity in their homes. We know that sometimes we have learning from home days, right? So this would give you insight on what devices are available and what connection is available in the home, so that you, as an educational agency, can hopefully provide those resources if they're not available. Okay, so those are the data elements that I wanted to discuss with you. We're still in the beginning of the school year. It's been a lot, hasn't it? So we're gonna begin our school year with enrollment dates. Typically, your SIS vendor will apply a bulk beginning date. And if you have students that are leaving you, you need to exit them. As your students transfer out, you would apply something called an exit date, an exit type. Sometimes that happens even in the beginning of our school year with our students who are more transient. Third Friday of, yes, question.
Well, exit day, last day, they attend.
Correct. Exit date is gonna be the last day they're receiving services from you. Good question. Third Friday of September. Who has heard of the third Friday of September? Wait, everyone's hand should be in the air. This is an important one. We report the third Friday of September on our accountability report card. This is another important piece that you would have in OAS. You're going to indicate if the student was present, absent, or not receiving services. Okay, if the student exits prior to third Friday of September, what value would you place in your SIS? Present, absent, or not receiving services? Not receiving services or nothing at all. Because is the student a choice participant if they exit prior to third Friday of September? No. If you opt out of the student report card, do we want that enrollment? No, if they leave before third Friday of September, they're no longer a choice. And you don't need to report them. We don't want it, actually. You would remove them from your student reporting. If you opt in, however, we still want the enrollment, but you need to remove the choice value because they're no longer considered choice. I know that you are all really excited with having the if then this that. We do have exit type crosswalks, a beautiful visual diagram created for you so that you can determine if their choice and what exit type you need to use. Question.
So. They're there for.
Ryan Franz, if they're there, if the student attends the beginning of the school year, they are not they didn't come to school third Friday. They didn't come to school the day after third Friday. What happens?
Then they came to follow.
Yeah, so in OAS, so for your count for that, you would do day before, day after. So it's any day before the third Friday and any day after. Now, that report closes on the end of the month. So even if they say they come, the first 2 weeks of school or whatever, and then they're sick for 3 weeks or something, and they show up that first day in October, you could then add the student through your enrollment audit. But what you want to make sure is that student wasn't in attendance at any other school in that lapse. Because if they were, then that's that dual enrollment and they're not going to be eligible.
We find out that, why is that?
Yeah, you could find out, yeah, so you could see that because there'd be overlapping enrollment error that you would get in WISE data, so you could see if another school picked him or her up as a choice student. And then you would see that overlapping enrollment. You could also just, talk to parent guardian and say, hey, you were gone for 3 weeks, where were you? If they say, oh, we were, trying out this other school, then hey, you're not gonna be eligible.
Good
Would
question.
not return,
Say that again, I'm sorry.
so they would not return under our.
So, yeah, so they wouldn't be counted in that first choice payment because you wouldn't be able to count them in the third Friday, but say they really didn't like that school that they were trying out. They could then reapply for a second semester application if you participate in the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program. Because just the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program has that second semester open application period. So if your school has a October, November, December, January open app period, any student that was marked ineligible for the third Friday in September, that first count, you could have them reapply and use that new application to then count them in the second Friday in January.
Good questions. Okay, so we discussed your SIS setup. We discussed your staff being given access to our secure reporting applications. We discussed entering all the data elements. Here it is, August, September. We're busy, busy, busy. And now we're going to discuss the data coming into the portal. Okay, so I'm just put us at like a solid October. Okay, September, October. Your data's flowing, the enrollments are happening. We're in there. Our goal for this piece is I want you to be feeling more comfortable with the tools that we have available for you to verify the accuracy of the data that's coming from your SIS to WISE Data Portal. So let's jump in. When you log into WISE Data Portal, it's going to populate to the home page automatically. This is where you're going to view the heartbeat of your data. This is the data flow pipeline. And from the data flow pipeline, you're going to get this beautiful visual. The first piece is labeled the WISE Data API transactions. What that means is the last time your SIS tried to send data to us. So here we have as an example Skyward listed. This would be your SIS in a box. And we would give you a color indicator on if the data was successfully sent over and if there were errors in the transactions. Green is what we're looking for ideally, but if you do have errors in the transactions, don't stress too much. Sometimes when students transfer out, we still try to send, when I say we, I mean the SIS still tries to send data over and the student's not there anymore. So it'll error out. So if you have some orange or red, don't have an anxiety attack. We're gonna walk through what the anxiety attack should have. I'm just kidding. I don't want you to have any anxiety at all. I have a lot of phone calls where I have to kind of I have to talk to folks now, right? Hey, it's okay. We're gonna get through this. Don't stress. This is not something that you should stress about. So the first piece is the WISE Data API transactions. Looking at that current school year, you're able to verify if data came over and when. There's a timestamp of when that transaction happened. Why do I have last school year listed here? Old news. Been there, done that. Why would we need that? Because it doesn't get collected until December. When you are returning in the fall, refreshed, you had an amazing summer, you love your students again. It's 24-25. We give you that fall to prepare your data for the December snapshot. And heaven forbid, I don't want to offend anyone in the room, but there may be mistakes in your previous school year data. Okay, let's all be humble. And so you might have to work in your SIS
to correct the previous school year data. Maybe you thought that your student was going to enroll in the school, and so you put the exit type TC, transfer or continuing in the same school, but they didn't come. You're gonna have to change that exit type, okay? Depending on if they were homeschooled or whatever the scenario may be. If you're trying to push over data from the previous school year, does that come over automatically? Question, this is a test. Does previous school year data come over automatically? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a manual process. Ask your SIS how to push over data from the previous school year. Ask your SIS how to even work in the previous school year, back to the future kind of thing, okay? Because this is not intuitive. These are not things that you just know where the windows live and the clicks are. So have that training in the beginning of the school year. It's a busy time for literally everything, but then on top of it, you need to get your data ready for the December snapshot and work in the previous school year. When you're trying to push over that data manually, you're gonna get feedback in WISE data if it came over successfully. We're gonna get colors, you're gonna get time stamps, the instant gratification. It is real time, folks. You can push data from your SIS and then you click where that's going to WISE data. And it's great. But then you hit the refresh button and you're gonna get color. You're gonna get timestamps. It's a nice thing to have, yes.
So if you change this and you no longer have access.
Oh. I'm gonna veto that question. If you change your SIS vendor and you no longer have access to the SIS vendor, you didn't use best practice. We don't want you doing that. We want you, if you're gonna change your SIS vendor, you need to have closed out your school year. You need to have worked with your new SIS to retrieve that previous school year data. Oftentimes they can pull it down from the cloud so that you can manipulate that previous school year data. Don't get yourself in a situation where you change your SIS vendor, your contract's over, you no longer have access to that previous school year data, now you're in the fall stuck with no access. If you are thinking about shopping for a new SIS vendor, that's fine, you have the freedom to do that. But you need to ideally contact CST, the customer service team on our help desk, to have that conversation of how we can logistically help you through that process. And you need to have a very in-depth conversation with your potential new SIS vendor on how you can retrieve your previous school year data. Sometimes that means working in two contracts with two SIS vendors. Extending that contract to that December so that you can close out that snapshot. And then working in your new SIS solely after that snapshot happens. Good question. That happens often, and oftentimes schools are not aware of that dynamic. Please, when you start the beginning of the school year, enter your contacts and don't be generic. Okay, we've got primary, secondary, and generic contacts. Don't be generic. You won't receive any of our email blasts. I know we all want another email in your inbox from DPI. So be sure that you're updating your contacts in all of our applications, WISE ID, WISE Data, WISE Admin. The choice school contact, we will default to the previous choice administrators. Who here has had a change in staff? Raise your hand. It's not, we're trying, we default to the previous choice administrator, but guess what? They leave too, right? So we're trying to call somebody that's not there. Please update your contact information. All right, with that being said, I have another reminder for you. You've got your data flowing. We're going to verify the data together today. We throw errors and warnings at you. You log into WISE data. If you have no errors and warnings when you log into WISE data, thumbs up or thumbs down, you're good to go. No, you are not good to go. You need to go into the data quality indicators and check your enrollments. You could be sitting there with no errors and warnings because you're only recording 4 of your 400 students. Feeling good, right? Okay, the opposite.
No, check your enrollment counts. We don't know how many students you have in enrollment. When we start amping up our data quality outreach, our dear friend Emily runs some queries and compares OAS counts to WISE data counts. But until that happens, until that outside resource, Emily comes in to save the day, we have no clue. We can't help you with that. We don't know what we don't know. So you know your data.
Missing data cannot be validated. You're not gonna get errors and warnings for data you're not sending. Another thing, another issue, if you have enrollments missing and the snapshot happens, we can't correct that. There's something called the data inquiry process that the Office of Educational Accountability, if you have your economic status data, for example, broken, it's all inaccurate. Maybe you work through the data inquiry process to correct that. If you don't send enrollments, there's nothing to correct. That's what it is. Your report card is going to be
Unfortunately, inaccurate, and we can't correct that. Okay. So working through the errors, working through the data submission process. You're checking the home page. You're verifying the data landed. You're going to make corrections in your SIS. You're going to push that correction over, and you're going to come back, make sure the data landed,
and see if your error is resolved, and that's the process. Okay, simple as that. Easy peasy. The whole page, we start with the WISE data API transactions when the data pushed over from your SIS. The next piece in the data pipeline status is the WISE data status. Did it land? Did it come over? It's gonna tell you if it's out of sync or not. Believe it or not, your SIS can try to push data over and it doesn't come. The data pipeline's clogged. You need some drain on. You gotta contact your SIS vendor. Something's going on. There's something prevent the data from flowing. So you'll be sitting there on the phone with Carrie going, I'm sending it. Same that I sent it, but nothing's coming over.
That's when we have that close collaboration with your SIS vendor customer support. So use that homepage to verify when your data is pushing over. All right, and then the final piece on the homepage is the Q import and validation. So
You get that instant, you're like, yes, data came over, all right. But now you have to wait for your data to be validated. Wait in line. So if you want to jump the lines, nobody wants to wait. Hit that orange button right there that my pointer's going to. Q import and validation, it jumps the line. So that your data is validated sooner. You don't have to wait behind all the schools in the state. And then you can see if your errors and warnings fell out.
you have patiently listened to my voice now for 59 minutes, folks. We are in the midst of the school year. We're fixing our data. We're pushing the orange button. We're jumping the line, seeing if our data falls off. There's nothing better than your data. Oh, when you log into that WISE data and your ears are done, right? Ooh, you did it. But sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's when you need to submit a help ticket. We're going to talk about now. This is an example of the colors you're going to see. This is new.
Because we had changes, really beautiful updates our collections did. Our collections team at DPI made some amazing enhancements to WISE data. And we get more colors now. The green is what we want to see, right? Orange is telling us that we have errors in the transactions, as well as red. If you're seeing those colors, don't stress. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that your data is broken.
But this is something that you would want to consult your SIS vendor with. You can click on the colors And it's gonna give you a list of the details, the transaction
details. This is where some of you, your eyes glaze over and you're like, too much. We don't want to go there. Okay? Screenshot this or copy and paste this and send it to your sys vendor. Should we send WISE IDs to our sys vendor in an email? Question. This is a test. No, absolutely not. So your sys vendor should have some kind of secure ticketing system, some kind of secure communication system for you to send questions about your errors and warnings. Do not use your school email to send PII. Do not send the student information through your email to your sys vendor. Do not send your sys vendor your WISE ID upload file. I know it's the fall and I know you're busy, but do not do that. It's not secure. So this is something that you could do, right? There's no PII on this. You can say this is what's erroring out, and if they need more information, guess what? They have a vendor tool that we have built for them that they can go in and see what they need to see. In no way should your sys vendor ever be asking you to be sending specific details that include PII via email. We have DPI applications that they can use to help navigate the data flow issues. And hopefully they also have secure ticketing systems to communicate that. So this is indicating when the data flow is out of sync. It'll literally say out of sync 1. Okay. So this is new. Hopefully we can get to become familiar with that. If it says data is up to date, well, you're good to go. It's much more intuitive. It's an easier process. I don't know if you remember, just a few weeks ago, it used to be a lot of boxes on the homepage and some check marks or red X's, and folks were like, what does this mean? All right, so we moved from our homepage. We're feeling good. Our data's flowing. Okay, here we go. This is our data quality page. Notice at the top of WISE data, draw your eyes to the top. We are just moving right along the tabs. We're at the home. Now we're at the data quality. This is a really new change too, and I am so excited about it. I live here, okay? If you ask me where my address is, I say data quality. This is where it gives you a cumulative total in a big box of how many enrollments you have. I repeat, right here, so easy for you. All you need to do is pull up, if you're doing, well, I retract that statement. You need to pull up your total in your sys of how many enrollments you have, and you can easily compare that right here with that box. Yes.
That's not current, correct? That's how many enrollments you have throughout the school year, so that may not reflect. We currently have just how many choice students.
My understanding that this is current enrollment. We have drop downs here in the data quality indicators where you would go enrollment current. Okay, so the date current is the timestamp on the home page. So the slide that we just looked at, that last transaction completed, that's going to be what's reflected on enrollments current. We also have a drop down for third Friday of September. That will show you your third Friday of September enrollment. Does that make sense? Good question. Also, what's coming up in May? I'm not wanting to hear the end of the school year. It's another answer. Spring demographic snapshot. That's right. So with the green grass and the dandelions comes the spring demographic snapshot. And you are going to use these drop downs here. It defaults to grade level. You want to go into each of the demographics to verify that all your enrollments are there, because believe it or not, you'll go down to race ethnicity and then your enrollment completely changes because for some reason race ethnicity isn't coming over or that element wasn't correctly filled out in your sys. Verify all the enrollments are accurate and that in each of the categories. Because those two pieces are often misreported through data flow issues, that either everybody's not coming over or the data is inaccurately coming over. Sometimes you have it correct in your SIS, but it's not correct in WISE data, so you need to work with your SIS to correct that. Sometimes, when you see those inaccuracies, it's something that you can easily fix, just some clicks, you say, oops, that's my bad.
And then you can push it over and see, after you hit the Q import invalidation button, you can see your new accurate data. Who's excited for the new data quality indicators? Woo, me too. We get a dark red now. The critical errors will show in this distribution screen. This is just here for you. If you hover over, it's interactive, okay? If you wanted to dig in, you can hover over this bar graph. It'll tell you the actual number of errors and warnings and critical errors. And then there's more. When you click on it, it takes you to the errors and warnings. Oh, love that for us. Okay. So with that being said, this is all of the demographics that we can view and I want you to view. So on your to-do list, Spring Demographic Snapshot coming up May 21st. Your task, an action item when we leave today's session, what are we going to do? We're going to review our demographics. Okay, you're going to use these drop downs. Put that on your to-do list, please. Let's get ready. Okay, so with the Q import and validation, you can choose to receive an email when you click that button to notify you when the validation is complete. And it gives you a timestamp of when the last time the validation was completed. All right, WISE data exports. These are spreadsheets to help you prepare. We do have a demographic export. What would that be helpful for? The demographic snapshots. That's right. Wow. So use the exports to prepare. Dig into those spreadsheets. We have the third-party export. This is a popular one to help you prepare. This is where you can see your choice participant status. And that lives within the exports tab. And then we have our WISE dash extracts. Use these to prepare for your December snapshot. Pull each and every one of them. If you're a high school, you'll need the high school completion. If you're elementary, you can get away with not doing that one. But take a look at each of these. When you receive errors and warnings, we have a lot of resources to help you through them. The code itself, I know it looks boring, but it's actually got a little hyperlink living in there. And when you click on that hyperlink, it opens a knowledge-based article. There's a little story that we give you. We say district temp is this is the error and this is what you need to fix it. Okay. So use the resources, use the knowledge-based articles to help you through your errors and warnings. Within the validation messages, when you get an error or warning, there are student details. This is where you really dig in and do some investigating on where the error and warning lives and what is living in your SIS and what is living in WISE ID. Notice, I know this is about a barrel of laughs, folks. We're at 10:09, we're almost there. This would be a good time to tune in if you've been checking out on me, okay? This is it. WISE data. Do you see that column labeled WISE data in the student details? Where is that? WISE data, where do we get that data from? From your SIS. So that is the information that's living in your SIS. WISE ID, what is that? Where does that come from? In the WISE ID application. If you get a WISE ID error or some kind of error about birth date not matching or student name not matching, go into your student details, look at these two columns and compare what's living in there. If it's wrong in WISE data,
Perfect, easy fix it in your sys, push it over, done. If it's wrong in WISE ID, you have to go into the WISE field, click on WISE ID, do your student search. Find the student, click edit. Make the change, and then submit a change request.
Change request is where it comes to DPI. We don't let you just change the data willy-nilly. We don't let you do that. You need to request a change and we determine if it's appropriate or not. This is where
You would be able to verify within the student details, you expand your enrollment, notice that little caret there. You're able to verify if the student is a choice participant. There's a lot of information living in these student details if you dig within the carets. So when you're doing some investigating, if you have student detail errors,
use this screen. This is another big one.
third Friday of September reporting disability. A lot of schools, unfortunately, were not reporting the disability or reporting it inaccurately. If you have a student who's reporting disability, you would want to say why, yes. And then the disability type would populate what you enter into your SIS.
Sometimes what you enter and what the public school enter is conflicting. So you need to have a quick email or conversation to say, hi, what code do you have entered for the disability? We need these to match. Okay. Ideally, it would be listed on the ISP or incoming IEP. And that would be that. But believe it or not, sometimes we have conflicting codes. Sometimes, this is where it gets spicy. This is where my job is really fun and interesting. The code in your SIS isn't reading correctly to the desired code. So you need to work with your SIS vendor to get your coding accurate, believe it or not. High school completion. Raise your hand if you're a high school. Raise your hand if you're a high school. Okay, welcome high schools. We need to make sure that we are entering HSC for the exit type. And we need to make sure that we're entering the correct credential type. Typically, it's a regular diploma for a choice school. If you do not enter the credential type, you're going to have errors. And you're going to unfortunately, it'll sometimes result in a dropout if you're not completely exiting the student correctly. So we have that exit type code decision process. I was bragging on it earlier. We're going to bring it up. This is where, here we go. This is where you would make your decision. Oh, this is the old one. This is not it. I'm going to have to relink it. Ignore. That's too much. We have a really nice decision tree for you to decide what exit type you should be using with your students. All right. Any questions on exiting the school year as a high school credential type? Okay, we're going to speak a little bit about exit types. And then I'm going to let you leave. I'm going to let you exit, okay? We're at the end of the school year. Please, some best practices. I know we're all dreaming of the end of the school year. Come back to me. Come back to me. Listen to me. Ask your SIS to apply a bulk exit date and exit type. Turn to your neighbor and say, ask your SIS to apply a bulk exit type and bulk exit date. Do that. Most of your students are leaving on the last day of school, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to go into hundreds of records and put the same date? Not me. Not you. Apply that bulk exit date. Apply the bulk exit type of TC. TC is your students are continuing in the same school or transferring to another school covered under WISE data. So either they're going to go to a public school or they're going to U or transferring to another choice school as a choice students. It's I think it sounds so easy, but okay, so apply TC. Because really, you don't know where your students are going to go until the following fall in 24-25. And that's when you're going in, you're using your school year filter, you're modifying your previous school year data, you're changing that exit type if need be. It is the springtime.
We want you to prepare your enrollment paperwork. Ideally, the opt-in, opt-out status, and we want you to have conversations with your SIS about applying these bulk exit types and exit dates, because a lot of schools in the chaos and in the end of the school year don't exit their students. And then we get lots of dropout errors, and then we get a change of staff, and the staff member doesn't know how to work the windows. And they say, I don't know where the student went. I wasn't here. And it becomes a very hot mess. We want you to use best practice. We want to value your time and energy and effort. Now, if your student was a choice participant and they leave you and they go to a new choice school, can we call that school and say, hey, is Billy a choice participant? So because we want to keep the choice participant status private, we can ask if they are going to be reported in WISE-DATA. We can ask if they are going to be reported in WISE-DATA. That would tell you either the school is opted or if they're a choice participant, maybe both. It's not our business if they're at a new school, if they're enrolling as a choice participant, but we can be asking if they're reporting to WISE-DATA. If they're going to a public school, you would always use TC. You're safe with that. TNC, if your student is homeschooled. If they are going to a private school, not participating in the choice program. Or if they're transferring to a choice school, but not participating in the choice program, they are no longer reported in WISE-DATA. That enrollment drops off. So you would use TNC as an exit type. We're just covering a few of the basic exit types before we exit ourselves. ISM and TOS. If the student moved out of state, you would use these exit types. Sometimes that happens, as we know. So this would be sometimes more unique. But if they moved out of state or out of country, move that to that exit type. ODO. We ideally are having conversations with families and students when they're leaving and understanding where they will be transferring to. In reality, sometimes that just doesn't happen, right? Families leave and that's what it is. We're calling the phone, they're not answering the phone, send a letter, no reply. There's only someone, maybe even we're doing home visits. And they're not there. Obviously, we're not doing home visits to verify the WISE-DATA enrollment, but if we don't know where the student went, we are not going to guess. Hopefully, we get a records request, right? And then we know. But if you don't have that information, you would do the dropouts, the ODO exit type. Ideally, when you're planning for the end of school year, you would have some kind of exit slip. Where are you going? Let's keep in touch, right? So you have that communication. Question?
And online, but they haven't really decided which online. Investigating, might be in state, might be out of state online. Is that a student who ends up moving? They're going to school?
The question is for students that are transferring to an online school in state or out of state, what exit type should we use? You would use, if you have communication or confirmation that yes, the student has transferred to an educational agency, you would use TNC. That exit type is a school that is not covered under WISE-DATA. Those online schools are not reporting to WISE-DATA, so that enrollment is dropping off. Dropouts are for students that we cannot confirm that they have not enrolled in another educational agency. Good question. Yes. The expected transfer exit type, you say? So this is a nice exit type in theory, okay? That, yeah, we think that we're gonna be transferring here, so we're gonna do the expected transfer and then, you are waiting for your evidence of transfer, and then you're waiting for your evidence of transfer, and then the school year's over and you still get your evidence of transfer, so now you have to go in and modify that exit type to ODO. And we didn't have any other communication with the family because we expected them to transfer to this school, but they didn't. I typically do not advise to use the ETC exit type. I would suggest reaching out to that expected transferring school, having that conversation, setting the records, right? Records request. Following that process. Sometimes this is a nice process in theory, but sometimes it just creates more work and errors for our schools. Okay, so it's 10:22. We're gonna do a quick quiz and then we're leaving. Are you ready? Get your thinking caps on. Using the data quality indicators, remember those beautiful bar graphs that I was bragging on? I'm looking at the enrollments, I can only see 18 of my third graders when I know there's 20. What do I do? What should I do about this? Yes? Yes, we're gonna go into our exports, we're gonna get some spreadsheet fun. We're gonna pull our enrollments and we're gonna sort by grade level to see who's missing. We're gonna do some investigating. Private eye. That was fun. Do you want another? Okay, here we go. I am looking at my bar graphs, my data quality indicators, and I don't see any information under my students by economic status. Oh my goodness. What's next for me? Contact your SIS and verify the information is being pushed. If you have it entered in your SIS and it's not coming over revised data, it's a data flow issue. We need to have that SIS help us through that. Good. Last one. You're gonna do great. I believe in you. You're experiencing error 6469. What is that about, Carrie? It's about overlapping enrollment. You've got two schools reporting the same student. You do some investigating. You're clicking the carrots. You go into the student details. And you see that the student who's a title student receiving speech, they're marked as primary at both the choice schools and public schools. What do? Get mad? No, we're thankful. We're thankful our public school is servicing our student. We appreciate that. It's a PPP student. Yes, this is a parentally private placed student, and our public district probably made a human error and they forgot to check the box of PPP. So we're gonna send them a kind email and say, hey, I've got an error. Can you please put PPP? And that error will go away. We are at our resources slide. And our deadlines. You can maybe take a picture of this, put them on your calendars. These are important pieces. May 21st, as we discussed, spring demographic snapshot. And then already in August, you may be receiving voicemails from myself and my colleagues wanting to talk to you and help you out with your data because Emily here pulled a query and things aren't looking right. Okay? So we take this data quality outreach seriously. We're not trying to be a burden to you. We're trying to help you prepare. This is not just another thing. We want you to be using our resources on how to make data-driven decisions, but we don't want you spending time in your data if it's inaccurate. And that's what today's session was about, is getting that accurate data. So we do the data quality review. We have, the access assessments will be coming to you in the spring. If you receive that Title III funding and participate in the programming for English learners, those access scores should be loaded after you close out the school year. Those access scores are for the following year. And then we come to our December 10th snapshot. And we also have our student assessment, student roster being loaded as well. And you get that DAC digest, I'm sure, about our student assessments. We want you to keep up to date with us. Please use the Wise Data events page. We have new user trainings the first Thursday of every month. If you have turnover, if you need a refresher, bring your staff to the new user training. Get the help that you need. Attend our Wise Data user calls each Tuesday. 1:30, be there, be square. Ask questions then. See the new updates, see how to use the tools. Here's on how you can get help. Submit a help ticket. We want to help you. We also have a new platform switching over to a Teams. It's like a group chat, if you will. And we want you to be there. We want you to chat with us. We want you to see the updates that we send, and we want you to ask some questions. So stop by the Ironwood and Banyan rooms and we'll get you set up. Take your name and your email, and our help desk will get you on that Teams chat. You'll get all of our fun, exciting TPI updates. On our web pages, give us feedback. We take your feedback very seriously. That is actionable data for us, okay? We want your input. And we also want your input on today's conference and today's session. Use the QR code. Now is a great time to pull out your phone and give us your input. I'll be helping you to plan the conference next year. So if you want to talk to me personally about anything that we can improve or what you liked about this year's conference, it is certainly welcome. I appreciate you listening to me for 90 minutes this morning. Wow. The patience that you all have, saints in this room. But also we appreciate everything that you're doing daily for our students and our school communities and our families. I know student reporting is a small piece, very, very small piece of what's happening at our schools. So just the fact that you came here to be away from the school environment is a sacrifice we understand, and we do appreciate that. We see that. So thank you again. Have a great morning.
Their pride is the debt. But that doesn't, I mean, for the choice kids.
Hello.
Good morning.
Early in the morning.
Okay.
So he comes by us all day long. Public
There's not like
school comes in and gives him
So the
service.
deadline.
Oh, he has a plan of service. That's what we have at our school.
Okay.
So this then
No,
becomes
so That's
yes.
the way to think about it.
and that
Yeah, so
becomes
their-
no.
Their sis is this.
No, you're the primary service provider
Right.
still.
Right.
But Parentally Placed Private,
They don't talk. to each other.
I don't know that you need to report it,
So
they do.
that's your-
Okay, that's what I
No,
thought.
no, no.
Because
Yeah.
I comes up and I was
Okay.
like, he's the
You-
private secretary.
He does more than.
What's that? Okay. I don't know. I'll find out.
Oh, is it throwing this
They-
area?
They submit.
Yeah, we always get that. You have to have, like,
So they.
because I mean, so this is what it tells us. And it
So
can't,
you could put yes, I guess, it's
No.
requiring.
well, it says, we can't have both yeses.
Oh.
He comes by us.
Submit students.
But yes, they're choosing to send him to us.
I'd like to make sure my schools know that.
We are also his primary
so-
Mhm.
provider.
Yeah.
So
Give them
it
some
would be
incentive.
technically
Right. So-
no, and then yes.
Correct.
Yes,
The one,
okay,
like,
good. That's what we've been doing. And they didn't tell us this was coming in and it all of a sudden.
It doesn't necessarily
there we
reflect what they're.
I was like, who do you have?
We have-
Because there's. That's got.
Which is
that's
fine. It's like,
and
oh,
they're
we
not
just,
getting
we just.
weed
There we go.
stuff.
Okay,
but
thank you.
it's-
Yeah, you're
Make
welcome.
him, make
So
better than
that
that,
data
Good.
sometimes
Okay,
falls.
all
off
right,
Just because it's not as firm. But,
okay.
but they have to submit that report, otherwise they.
Okay,
Um,
they have to submit it through the OA,
OAS, yeah,
but if it's bad data and
they still get.
life dash.
Yes.
Okay,
Next fall.
Okay.
It does not reflect reality.
Right.
all right.
And
All right.
people often get frustrated because they say, I submitted to OAS and this is the number of kids we have.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, if you didn't put it in WISE data, it's.
Good morning.
So where are the rooms for the help?
Figuring out.
Yes,
Very-
let me show you.
There's been a lot of
Okay.
conversation about it. It's just a matter of if it can, if it's just manpower.
Yeah.
if it works together.
Looks like there's one
Our
this
system
afternoon. Is this
came
one
out
this
pretty-
afternoon
Yes.
at 1 o'clock?
I think the choice-
Yeah. Oh, that's very nice.
We're like,
Well,
there's data system for the data thing.
That's right. I think
For
I read
nothing,
that on the
friendship
thing.
with somebody
It was like
Exactly.
the year before the public schools had it.
Yes, and so, but our like OAS system was pretty bad.
Okay.
Because we have had
First,
choice
because WISE data.
You can ask whatever question you want.
Yeah, and I think OAS has been around.
Cypress, they have
So yes.
there,
Online application system.
and then.
So, and that's a separate system that they log into using their passwords, and my team, our team, handle.
And then the financial stuff that drives it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, well, that's helpful. I wanted
Oh,
to create something for them.
Right.
To encourage them, your
No, and
character,
it-
but
And like Emily's saying, like, it's really important that their data is.
Yeah.
But there's not that financial.
Got it.
So.
good to know.
Maybe just hold up maybe just hold up a report card, you know,
Okay.
and just say, see.
Yeah.
Is this your school? Oh, is that not your school? Well, that means that. So you have to pay attention to this December snapshot because the bulk of the data is going to.
I mean, if you have a question, come on.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, may like send them. a snapshot of their sports cards and it help. All right, well, thank you
Yeah,
guys.
no worries. Here kept changing.
Part of it.
I know.
You know what? I'm still so frustrated. That WISE data portal. That data. I don't see that there's anywhere in that WISE data portal that can see the first statement.
Because you don't have access. I don't think.
Me?
In those, I think in general, I don't think they do. Just some- But it should.
Because how are they gonna know if they're spinning it wrong? There's nowhere for them to check. Until data quality time. These are.
Is that because the indicator doesn't correlate with that?
I don't think it, I mean, I don't think it's a data limitation. I think it's just the way that. I think it's for these carriers, right? Like all of our systems are built.
Right.
And then we try to shoot that to that. And the thing that that was just. You know, it's like, well, put that in, then it's gonna appear with public schools too, and that's not gonna make any sense to them. So, and, you know, that's my guess.
Well, I think like in a sense, right, because if it's just public schools, they're just, right, so it's just if your students. Don't
Yeah.
Students, right, choice.
I mean, I guess. I was trying to think, but so if you're opt out, then that number should. So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're in. Maybe it's not as important because if you're opted in, you can fix it, because we're right. The hardest part is. The hardest part is. Yeah, maybe it's not as big a deal as I think, because if they're opt out.
Their numbers still.
Then the numbers, yeah. They're saying. That means that they're.
You're not getting from, you're not getting from their SIS, their number of choices. Like, so if you're right, because they're just submitting the students that they that's his choice, so if they're opt out. There's not like a number to.
Sure, I guess, well, it's just another, we don't know, she's thinking they were food groups. So they're opt out. And they send their data. records that they have just, let's say they just didn't have status, they just forgot to. check it. So, bunch of students, we don't know. But I'm not sure is whether those students will be in that, that number. Because I don't know which one they go for this. I know that in the data warehouse, they're like, they don't make it into here. But they might be making it into wise data.
Others for who are doing it. Yeah, school class doing it.
So it's not frustration. Like I read here, it's like, and she didn't even have it. So like, no, it's also that much potential.
It's like that. Yeah.
But anyway,
It's
Right, yeah, it would be nice
I like
if whatever they submit choice numbers on the third Friday. Like showed up in there,
for OAS.
yeah, showed up
That
in
would be-
this or something like that, right? Cause then you'd.
Or even just wise data portal.
Right,
Which
so
is,
then you have,
yeah.
hey, you entered in 30 choice students, but you're only pushing data. from the window. Then you'd know that there's a problem, but not your 20, like if you're pushing 20. You're like, oh, that sounds right. That's the first section.
Maybe another answer project. Right. Oh, yeah, yes. They're just sitting there.
Originally, we were trying to get a bill through to, well, basically us, but we're trying to consolidate the law. Now, like one thing.
Oh, the choice program.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah. Fell for that. So in that, School Choice Wisconsin, it's what they're fucking worried about, mine and Vito's, Tony. All the information.
Oh, so just by introducing a bill, they would have introduced an opportunity for you to line item, something they think. I guess. I don't know if that's true, but.
I don't know if it's true there, but I mean, in general, there was no. It was so it was basically just a change in how.
Administration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because right now, Milwaukee's some Wisconsin are senior. So we can't really, there's some things that we can't do just because.
Because
Yeah.
really.
Oh, because we have,
Can't even,
we have to sit.
oh, you have to, each count has to be consented.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's,
The applications are separate presumably, but support schools and parents, they're just trying.
yeah, so it's just kind of, I wish it would have went through, but in that thought process, when we're doing it, we're talking about having. There's sis being. Have all of them, takes time. Two goals, on the Oracle system that. You can't really, they took us one year. Because nobody works at all. And then also, it's what it comes. No one likes to worry about. Just look at it. So we have to do something, but. Yeah, I mean, that stuff still could be done without the law changes, but. Change all the stuff. Of the stuff.
Yeah, that is really too bad. I was thinking about that actually during when some question came up and it was like, the answer is, well, it's different for Milwaukee.
Right.
And it's gonna be so frustrating. People must get so frustrated with UPI. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been able to.
Yeah.
The law. Crazy laws.
Yeah, the law is the way it is.
And that's the way all of the, it's not just choice rules, it's just the way the legislation works, right? Instead of. They credit for like one thing they create. That's already been going on for 20 years, so you just start using it.
Right.
But it's like a nightmare for agencies though.
The help desk is like completely on the other side of the conference room.
Who do they? The like drop-in thing?
And then I thought I was like leading the lady over. I turned around.
Outside the set, like
She's gone.
you're just leading her to like the
She
water
gave
park.
up.
She gave up. She's like,
Oh,
I'm
did she
not
really?
following this lady. Yeah.
That's fun.
I was like, oh, I saw her. I'm like, oh, I'm just showing her.
Maybe she thought that you like forgot about her.
I don't know. I think so. I think there was just a miscommunication. Like the leader was not
I needed to, yeah, be more clear, I think. This is the only session we repeated, and of course it had to be mine.
You should tell.
Only one in the whole conference.
I think
I didn't even, most of the
the scores there yesterday.
They were,
Tell them.
I'm gonna tell everybody in the beginning. So now's your time
Yeah.
to go to the help desk.
Or go.
No, they need to stay for my equity session.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm not,
it's the first time that we did it. I'm excited for it.
equity and data workshop.
Yeah. Yep, that's the one.
You didn't do that.